Welcome back to Toku Takeout, a weekly podcast where two friends get nerdy about all things tokusatsu. My name is Tam, and with me on the viewing globe as always is...
Cole.
This week on the podcast, Battle for the Grid updates are teased. I've started Kira Major, and Cole gets a taste of Thundercats Roar. We'll also watch 2 more episodes of Pirate Sentai Gokaiger. Well, it's time, gang. Let's ranger up. Henshin!
You're listening to Toku Takeout. You can find us on your favorite podcasting app or tokutakeout.com.
All right, we're back this week. How you doing, Cole?
Oh, I am doing. It's been a week, and I honestly haven't consumed that much new media. I don't know about you. I follow you on Twitter, I guess, so I do kind of know. But I've been a little bit of a recluse, but with everything. But I did start watching Thundercats Roar. You called me out on it already, but
well, yeah, you kind of mentioned it, and I guess we both watched a couple of episodes, but I dropped it almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? This is going to be your topic for the week.
I don't know what to think about it. I've watched 2 episodes so far, but it wasn't until I talked to a few people online on like Instagram and Twitter, and they were like, "Hey, please give the show a chance." I started watching it because I wanted to hate it, and I didn't want to like it, and I was just going to be a jerk about it. And I ended up loving it, and I was just like, really? Okay. Okay. That I guess that's an endorsement. But I had a few of those conversations of like, I thought I was going to absolutely hate it, or I wanted to hate it outright, and ended up watching it and really enjoyed it. So I don't know. There's some weird tonal things. Like, I understand it's not the original. I know it's not the reboot from 2011, but it's trying to find its own footing. And you can tell that the creators or the people who worked on it like do have an affinity for the original. I just don't know. I don't love the introduction of Jaga, and I don't really get the vibes of the other cats yet. So I don't know. It hasn't pulled me in, but the other people I've talked to have kind of given me wind in my sails to keep moving forward, because if I'm having multiple conversations of this, there must be something. So I'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt that way about Teen Titans Go. It was not the Teen Titans I remembered.
Sure.
But I can deal with it and even find it funny in small doses. Little bite-sized doses, if we're going to keep it on topic, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The one thing that I will say that I did like was that they used the old music.
Yeah, the music
like the old
is
classic
so
80s music.
good. It's so good. But I really don't like Lion-O right now. And like, he's the one you should be rooting for, right? So
you would think so. I don't know if that's the case this time.
That's true. But I think Mumra seemed cool, and now he's like Mummy Mumra now. And it kind of gives, I don't know why, but when I was watching it, it gave me like a Mojo Jojo vibe, even though like aesthetically, obviously very different. But
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why that was the villain that came to mind, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would say enthusiastic to push forward, but I'm going to. I'm definitely intrigued.
Okay, well, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple episodes from now, we'll see how that's going for you.
Yeah, I'll give an update for sure.
Yeah.
What about you? What's going on?
Well, I started watching the newest Super Sentai Kira Major.
Okay.
It's basically it's interesting. It's about basically sentient jewels, like jewel stones. And there's a fight for the kind of ruling class of a kingdom on this jewel planet. And the princess has to escape to Earth, where she has to put together a team of jewel-themed Power Rangers. And this team, they've got... So they start off with, like, everyone but Red. They're teasing Red. But they've got basically an actor who likes doing, like, very dramatic, very serious Japanese movies, especially if they're about, like, old-time Japan.
Okay.
So he plays a samurai on TV.
Oh.
Then they get an esports player who's basically really good in essentially Fortnite.
Okay.
And then give him a gun, which, you know, video games will definitely teach you everything you need.
That translates.
They get a track star.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because she's fast.
I mean...
And they get a surgeon, which, okay, I guess if you're outfitting your team, you need the healer. And then they finally get a Red Ranger, and he is...
Pizza delivery guy.
It's pizza time. No, he's a high schooler, and he's a daydreamer, and he draws a lot.
Okay, that's cool.
So the theme seems to be imagination, which is kind of interesting because a couple of years ago they did the Train Super Sentai, Tokuger.
Yeah.
And it was all about having imagination also.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting that I guess it's the spirit and the imagination of these people partner up with sentient jewels.
Sure.
And certain people who resonate with certain jewels can create machines from them. So Red Ranger is who's creating the Zord forms and the weapon forms.
Oh.
Because he's got the most imagination as a daydreamer.
Okay.
Kind of an interesting little catch to it.
Yeah, I'm interested. I remember when they, like, announced this season, I was like, okay, cool, like, whatever. Like, I saw their outfits, and I was like, neat, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be a while probably till I get to it, so cool. Like, I was like, more stuff for me later. But that's cool that that's the... Huh.
Yeah, I'm only, like, 4 or 5 episodes in now.
Okay.
You know, so not too far. And they already had to take the hiatus due to COVID-19.
Sure.
Which is what kind of gave me the impetus to catch up. Because I'm already watching Kamen Rider 01. And usually when I'm watching a Kamen Rider show, I'm not watching Super Sentai. I kind of go back and forth.
Fair.
But I was like, no new Kamen Rider again. Here, I'll go back and I'll watch Kira Major.
Fair. Nice.
Other than that, I did want to mention that last night, Enway, the team behind the fighting video game called Battle for the Grid, it's based on Power Rangers and kind of has characters and themes and stages kind of across all forms of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers up to not quite the new season, but pretty close.
Okay.
So what they did was they released a base form, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
For like $20. It was a budget fighter game, and it's sort of what's that called? It was on the Dreamcast. Marvel vs. Capcom.
Oh, yeah.
It's that style where you kind of tag in other people on your team, and you have to manage 3 life bars.
Okay, I was going to ask if it's 2 or 3. Cool.
Yeah, so there's definitely 3 there, and you can do the thing where you bring them in for the single attack, or you swap to that person as your fighter.
Cool.
In a match.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, it only launched with like 6 or 8 characters. But over time, they've done a number of free updates and paid DLC.
Yeah, I remember when this game was coming out, I was so excited about it, and then I was just like, okay, it's one-on-one combat, but if it's teams, I was like, I think it only came out with like 6 or 9 or 12, like a small number for whatever this type of fighting game is, and I just remember being like, okay, well, I'm not into Power Rangers necessarily, so like some of these people I don't even know who they are, so I just kind of was like, cool, I'll just like hang out for a bit and see how things shake up, and I've kind of forgotten about it, but like I'm looking at the character lineup right now and I still don't know who a lot of these are, at least in Power Rangers, but I'm like, all right, I know who these are in Super Sentai now, like, okay, like I could just, you know, put my brain somewhere else. I'm like, all right, like this looks actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun, and I admit, I'm not good at fighting games, so I'm mostly playing, like, the storyline, single player, or every now and again I'll team up with a friend. But one thing I really like about this particular game is that they actually pull a lot from the Boom comics. Mm-hmm. So not only do you have, like, the requisite Mighty Morphin characters, but you also have, like, Lord Draken, you have the Ranger Slayer, you have, what is it, like the Mammoth Ranger Troopers.
Yeah.
You've got Mighty Morphin Yellow in a dragon armor from the comic. Mm-hmm. So it's been really cool, really interesting, that they pull so much from other forms of the media. They also have, a couple of years ago when they did the relaunch movie.
Yeah.
Through Lionsgate, I think. They've got one of them in here. It's the Blue Ranger, but what's kind of interesting is they don't call it Billy. They just call it, like, the Blue Ranger, as though it was, if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, 100% I saw that movie.
Okay. So you remember that there was a team of Rangers at the very beginning of the movie that basically crash land on Earth and all die.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Blue Ranger from that portion.
Okay.
So it's not Billy who gets Blue Ranger, it's the Blue Ranger we never knew the name of or met.
Yeah, who's like an alien. Cool.
Yeah. Sunday, they announced the Season 3 DLC and kind of teased it a little bit. It was pretty quick, but it was during a fighting game tournament. Perfect time to do it.
Sure.
And they announced the Wolf Ranger from Jungle Fury, who some of our listeners may know as Geki Violet. In a big, like, welcome surprise, they announced Lauren Shiba from Super Samurai. She's a female Red Ranger lead.
Cool.
And you may know her as Princess Shiken Red from Shinkanger. And they also teased Scorpina from Mighty Morphin, which is great. You watch Zyuranger, so
Lami Scorpion.
You would know her as Lami. Yeah.
Which I think her armor is so good. So literally when I saw those teasers up on Twitter, I was like, do I have to get back into this game? I mean, or get into this game? And I love Lami.
Yes.
I love Lami.
So I fully admit, I know Power Rangers. I don't really know Zyuranger. I've only seen a couple of episodes on it from Shout Factory. But I do know that Lami and Griffozer like get together and have a baby.
They're definitely a couple. I don't remember the baby.
And I'm just like, Goldar and Scorpina were a thing. Wait, that actually kind of makes sense because they both have the gold armor.
Yeah. I don't remember probably because I just blocked it out if it existed. I'm really good at doing that.
But Goldar is one of the fighters in Battle for the Grid, so you're going to have Griffozer and Lami.
Heck yeah.
In the game, and I think that's great. They also teased a new skin for Daishi, people might know as Black Lion Rio from Geki Ranger.
Sure.
He's going to get the Phantom Beast skin. So, kind of like, I guess, his power-up.
Cool.
It's purely cosmetic, but even being a cosmetic change, like what they've done is it'll change the animations and things, too.
Oh, cool. So a little bit more in depth, yeah.
Yeah, like the attacks are the same. Don't get me wrong. So if you know how to fight this character or fight with this character, you know what you're going to do, even with the new skin. But some of the animations might change slightly, and it's kind of cool that it's not just a recolor.
That's cool. I love when developers do that, when they are granted the resources to do so in time. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like that it's called skin, but there's a lot more to it than that. Not quite an Echo Fighter in Smash, but something similar.
Yeah.
But with the new season, there will also be free updates. So they're going to have a new Ultra attack, which is going to be the Samurai Megazord.
Okay, how many Megazords? I know you can summon Megazords. Do you know how many are in the game currently?
So you've got the Mighty Morphin Dino Megazord. You've got the Dragon Zord. You've got Goldar as an attack.
Okay.
He's not technically a Megazord, I know,
Sure.
but he does turn giant a lot.
Yeah, he big.
And they've got the SPD Zord.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it, honestly, but they've got that
you.
one in there. I think that's it. I think it's just the 4. So this will add a 5th one that you can choose.
Neat.
Yeah. And they're actually revamping how you call out the Megazord Ultra. So previously, or currently I should say, you have to lose one of your characters before you have the ability to call your Ultra.
Okay.
And then it recharges. So it's like a comeback timer.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what they're going to do is just have a timer. So I guess it's not necessarily that you die and lose one of your 3 characters. It's more along the lines of you take so much damage, or maybe you have so many combos. I don't know yet. They haven't said what.
But they're changing the cooldown. Interesting.
Yeah, they're not going to require that you have to lose someone before you can activate it for the first time. So even if you're not necessarily playing the game, if you're watching people on Twitch play it, it gets crazy.
Cool.
And I can only imagine what's going to happen if you get a good competitive fighter out there. And, they're basically dominating the fight and then call the Megazord.
Yeah.
It'll be all over. So it's going to be really interesting to see it kind of one-sided like that, but also see how they balance it.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to scope it out.
Speaking of Boom Comics,
yeah,
you had something you wanted to talk about?
I just briefly, a little bit ago, I picked up the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers archive, or Volume 1 of the archive.
Okay.
And I don't remember Power Rangers all that well. I remember the juice bar and everything. But I remember when I was little, I was picking up comics and stuff when those were happening. So I haven't read it yet, but I've been flipping through, and there's some stuff where I'm like, oh, I remember owning this thing or whatever. So it's been cool. I'm excited to get back into it. Weird that the first page I flipped to had Dyreno, which is the Die Ranger Megazord, which I know we use their Zords and everything, but it was just really jarring that was the first Megazord I saw flipping through it. So yeah, so my memory is just vacant on that front. So I'm excited and it's hefty too. It's dense. It's very thick.
Oh, good. So it's definitely getting your money's worth with it.
Yeah, I think it was like $20, and it's like an 1.5 to 2 inch thick comic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a big boy. So I'm excited for that.
I just want to jump in and say that I've read the Boom comics basically since they launched, and they're good.
Cool.
The writing's good. The art is consistently good, even when they've switched writers and artists. I look forward to hearing what you think about it, but I've really enjoyed it, and these guys have been given, guys and gals, have been given the freedom to kind of do what they want with it. They're not beholden to what has come before. Mm-hmm. So even though they're kind of retelling and kind of fleshing out parts of Mighty Morphin, things don't necessarily go exactly like they would have back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting.
Yeah, I love when... we could pull the Thundercats back into that, right? It's cool to experience stories and alternate timelines, or what if just this one thing went differently, I don't know how I feel about Thundercats Roar yet, but I'm excited to see how the Power Rangers kind of navigate that space.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Great. As you're reading it, let me know, because
sure.
I am definitely curious what you're thinking of it, and then maybe that's another topic for another time.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to our first episode of Gokaiger for this podcast, I just wanted to give a little shout out to a friend of the show. He's a really cool guy. His name is George Jr. You can find him on Twitter at Bara Pink Ranger. Bara like Bara. He's got a YouTube channel where he talks everything Power Rangers, and he keeps up the comics and kind of the general news, and he's a great guy. and I know he's out there listening. And George, thank you for your support.
And your YouTube channel.
And your YouTube channel. And the great content you bring.
I'm drinking a root beer for you, George.
This root beer's for you. Yeah. Okay, so Gokaiger. We're back at it this week.
Oh, yeah.
First episode we're up with is called What Are Friends For? To kind of summarize, we start out with the team hungry, which
Surprise.
I suspect will be a recurring thing. It's time to go get groceries. So Marvelous sends out Joe and Ahim, and on their way back from the grocery store, they happen upon a villain.
Yeah. Like a new action commander who, like...
Yes.
Which I commend the show for having a really quick moment of, like, exposition of, like, they're hedging their bets on this guy. Like, they're all kind of putting all the eggs in this basket for whatever reason. Yeah,
because the Prince and everyone's like, are you sure you're not all talk?
And he's just like, watch me.
Right. So they find him just kind of by chance, and it turns out this villain's kind of an expert swordsman.
Yeah.
He kind of kicks Joe's butt and then insults Joe's old swordmaster.
Yeah.
Which is like kicking you while you're down too.
Yeah, and we don't have any reference to his swordmaster, or like there's no flashbacks or anything, but you know it hurt, like you don't need the context. It's really obvious
it hurt his pride.
Yeah, it's I think the action commander's name is like Zodomasu. He does this like sword thing where he like spins his sword, so it looks like a Final Fantasy like Aeon summon or something. Like he's doing some magic, and he's like shooting swords out. So I like that he's known as this swordsman, but like he's like also bringing like sorcery to the table. And then he's fighting a swordsman who very much abides by like I'm a swordsman. So yeah, this is a really fast paced episode outside of the exposition of this action commander kind of being a real dingleberry.
Yeah, I agree with that because I mean Joe does get his butt kicked. The team, I guess, finds them and starts after the guy who's about to run off because you got to build that tension. And Joe's like, no. He's mine.
Yeah, it's very dramatic. And
then you go to him, he's practicing alone in like a bamboo forest.
Yeah.
And he's not blindfolded, but he's got like a headband, a white headband. I thought he blindfolded himself.
Yeah.
But no, he's got a headband on. I guess that's a sweatband. He's taking this seriously, and he sets a trap for himself. That once he cuts a couple of ropes, basically 100 swords come flying at him throughout the forest.
And he has to, like, block them. And what I really like, I think this episode is really cool because it kind of gives more context to the relationship amongst those rangers. Because red, yellow, green, they're like, all right, this is Joe's fight. So they're like, eating food, they're on the ship doing whatever. Joe's out training. They're like, I think Luca's just like, let him be. Like, if he's alone, he needs to be alone. Just trust him. And Ahim's like, no, we're friends though. Like, I care about him. And the others are like, they don't say it, but they're like, yeah, we do too. Like, I don't know. There's an interesting like microcultural dynamic that's like bubbling up here, where everyone cares about Joe, but Ahim doesn't know how to...
doesn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to support him. So she goes to support him, and then he gets hurt in his little gauntlet of sword flying. And it's because she intervened, which I was just like, oh, heavy-handed, but I see what you did there. Good.
It calls into question, like, we don't really know anyone's background. We've gotten teases of Marvelous's. That he was on the ship, he had the bird, there was another Red Ranger.
Yeah.
That's all we kind of know. But the fact that everyone kind of knows to leave Joe alone and let him do his thing, other than Ahim, makes me wonder, like, is Ahim, like, the newest to the group?
Totally.
Is it not that she's naive, but is she just not around them that much yet?
Right.
So that's really interesting. But
we don't have any answers.
No, they don't give you any answers in this episode. They really don't. But you do have a really sweet moment where Ahim's, like, getting some air in the crow's nest, and Luca comes up and, like, puts her jacket over her shoulders, and they just talk a little bit.
Yeah.
It was nice to take a moment, because, like, the last couple episodes we had watched last week, you know, it was either all action or it dragged.
Yeah, it was walking after a mage.
Right, just walking in the forest, you know, as you do. But I like that it wasn't life or death, but it was like a character moment. You know, Joe's taking it personally. He's taking it seriously. He's training, potentially risking injury to do so. But they still give you a little moment away from Joe and away from the action commander to just let Luca and Ahim, you know, be friends and talk it out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
I really like it was a way sweeter moment than I anticipated. I think I made the joke, like, when Luca walks up and, like, kind of, she just, like, rests Ahim's jacket on her, like, you're gonna get cold. Which one is, like, the first gesture, and I was like, oh, I thought she was gonna hug her because of, like, just their body language towards each other. And then they just had a really nice conversation, and I was like, I feel bad that I was kind of waiting for the bit. Because Luca is, she's not Doc, but, like, I would say probably
waiting for the punchline kind of a thing.
And it never came, and it was actually, like, quite a relief for it just to be them talking, and I really liked it, because I feel like this episode, as quick-paced and kind of, you know, there's not a whole lot of substance here. There's a lot of subtext that we could kind of really run with, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they cut to the next day, and Ahim wakes up and basically finds out that Joe's leaving. He's ready to find the action commander and get his revenge, or avenge his swordmaster, or whatever. And we're first led to think that Ahim's going to stand in front of him and be like, don't go, you can't go.
Yeah.
But instead, she stops him and offers him her sword.
Yes.
Because Joe's been training to use 2 swords, but he'd only had his one. But that was a great moment. And Joe's like, you know, do you know what you're doing? And she's like, not really, but I know it's important for you.
Yeah.
And I trust that you'll come back safely.
Yeah. I really, like, I think for this, like, I don't think Super Sentai is solely for kids, but, like, for that to be a message for kids, to be like, hey, like, even if your friend is doing something and sometimes you don't need to understand to still be there and support them, like, that's huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's absolutely, it's a moment of, you know, if they're your friend, sometimes you gotta take it on faith.
Yeah.
And that's really, like you said, even if whether it's kids or not, I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, and that was still a message that touched me. Totally. That's still something I struggle with.
Especially because, like, Ahim's like, he was like, you sure? And she's like, no. Like I'm super not, my bud.
Right. But I know this is important to you, so if you're going to do it,
yeah,
take mine.
But I think my favorite part is, like, he's like, cool, sick. And then he continues to walk. And then we have, like, she stands there, and then jump cut, you know, he's approaching our action commander on top of a quarry, and then you see Ahim kind of running behind, like, some rocks, and I'm like, yeah, you don't have to understand, but, like, you might want to be there for backup. Like,
right. Yeah, it's not quite as dark as Trust But Verify.
Yeah.
So much as it's like, I trust you know what you're doing, but just in case.
Yeah, it didn't seem like she was, like, being like a nagging, like, mother or something. Like, oh, I worry about you. She was just like, nah, like, I'm kind of waiting in the wing.
Right. So Joe and the Action Commander meet up. They're going to have a little duel. Everything seems to be going well when the villain brings out his little, like, anti-clockwise magic sword attack thing.
Yeah.
Except, as Joe's knocking the swords away, some of the mooks come out and grab each of his limbs.
Yeah.
And holds him splayed so that the attack hits him directly in the torso.
Yeah. It's not great.
I was like, that's not fair. That's not right.
So as soon as you, the viewer, are like, that's not fair, you can't do that, the Action Commander is like, you can do anything in a fight because you want to win. And you're like, are you talking to me right now? At least that's how I felt. Because I immediately was just like, no. So I thought that was, like, clever writing on their front.
Yeah, they kind of expected your reaction. I like that.
Totally. And I really like, too, that, like, as we have Ahim kind of watching Joe, kind of, like, rooting him on and just kind of waiting, she sees this and she's just like, well, here we go. I've been preparing my whole life for this moment.
Yeah.
But what's cool is she doesn't have her sword, so she just kind of runs at them and is like, let's go. Which, like, I love as, like, a friend visual. Like, I don't know how to help you, but here I am. Like, solidarity.
Yeah.
Pass me my sword, please. Like,
right, because there's totally that moment of, I'm there for you. That's not fair. He did it the right way. Just the anger throws her into the scene.
Yeah.
Without really thinking. She's there for him. But the good news is the rest of the team arrives. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I thought you guys weren't going to be here. And they basically give these little moments of, well, I mean, we're friends, right?
Yeah, like, we're always looking out for each other.
We were worried about you.
Yeah.
You were just letting him do his thing. We're here when we need to be.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't abandonment. It was just give you some space.
Yeah.
But you look like you need some help. We're here.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's so stupid.
I was going to say they do a team transformation. Mm-hmm. They turn into Geki Ranger, which is cool. And they follow that with Deca Ranger. So for the Power Ranger fans, that's Jungle Fury and SPD.
Yeah.
But that's basically just to take care of the mooks.
Yeah.
That does not take care of the Action Commander, who we find out has actually been upgraded by the lady up in the ship.
The one who constantly makes me think of Lady Gaga, and I have no idea why. She's green and has an orange visor. I have no idea, but every time I see her, in my head, I'm like, Lady Gaga. I don't know.
I get a little bored Queen a little bit because of all the, like...
I don't write the rules.
But Lady Gaga?
In my head. I don't know. It could be because, like, her...
Huh.
What's her new album, like, Chromatica? It has, like, a cyberpunk thing on it. I don't know. It could be informed by that. I honestly, I have no idea, but every time...
You know what? I would love to see this lady make an appearance in one of Lady Gaga's music videos.
Literally in my head, my brain announces, it's like, Lady Gaga, every time we see her. So, and we're only, 4 episodes in? So I got some time with that.
Well, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So...
But yeah, he got upgraded, and it turns out he now has the ability to have tentacle swords.
Yeah.
That he thrusts into the ground, and he can do sneak attacks. It's very cowardly.
Yeah, he's a big old wuss.
He's actually attacking Joe's backside.
Yeah, it's weird, because they come out of his, like, torso and shoot forward, and then I guess there's some that come out of his back that go into the ground. It's real weird, because he stands stationary and his arms aren't moving. It's like he powers down for these tentacles to do action. I don't know.
Maybe it takes a lot of concentration.
That could be.
He's just standing there, not really moving.
It's like, I think if he was like talking and like whatever, that would make it less weird for me. But with him being stationary, gave it like a creep factor.
Well, I mean, and at that point, with him holding stationary and all of the foot soldiers taken out, I guess the rest of the team is like, "Hey, Joe, maybe you could use another sword. And they throw their swords at him. So now he spins around and he's got 5 swords.
Yeah, because this guy
It's
was
like, what
only
are you going to
ready
do with
for
5
him.
swords?
Yeah, the guy was only ready for him to have 2 swords, but now he has 5, so you know he's in trouble.
Right, exactly. That's when it ramped up. And he twirls. He twirls for justice.
Yes, he jumps up and spins. It's kind of like slow-mo, which is kind of great. But like it's like the slow-mo where it kind of travels back in time to play it again for you, and you're like, no, I saw it, thank you.
Right.
And he does his 5-blade style blue slash.
Yes.
Which is cool. And does it yell final wave when he does it too?
It does.
Because I know he had a solo one, which I was like, I don't know if that's in the rule book.
Yeah, it did. It yelled final wave, and he used 5 Blue Ranger keys to do the slash attack, the blue slash.
Yes. He shimmied his
but it was
belt
just by
buckle.
himself.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because he couldn't have his hands free.
Yeah, I still don't know how, but it's fine. He shoots out his keys, and they all magically land in his 5 swords. I don't know why this is where it falls apart for me. But...
That's where you lose it, right? Okay. Yeah, that's where you have to draw the line.
Yeah.
But they go and the guy goes down, he explodes.
Yep.
The lady upstairs with Lady Gaga.
Yep, thank you.
Shoots her little laser out, and I have to say, they cut it down. Mm-hmm. It was just an almost immediate, okay, console, button, gun, boom, boom, we're there, he's giant, let's go.
Yeah, very thankful for it.
It's almost like they were like, oh, crap, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Because the Megazord fight, or Gokaiger fight, is basically they immediately activate the Magi Dragon.
Yeah.
The villain, the action commander, grabs 4 of those blue guys, or 3 of those blue guys, and then basically turns them into jets and rides them something right out of, like,
Spider-Man.
The Green Goblin. And they take to the sky because they're already the dragon mode. And, excuse me, you'll have to bleep that.
Yeah. How dare
they're already
you?
in the they're already in the sky, and they're like, all right, it's time for knock you down to the ground. We're going to do the starburst and hit you with all the cannons. Mm-hmm. And when the guy grabs one of the blue guys remaining and uses him as a human shield, the cannon fire destroys him.
Yep.
And they're like, well, we can't do it again. We did that last week. So they do the Magi Bind.
Mm-hmm, which is the dragon that flies out and creates 3 binding sigils around. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And then boom.
And then boom, done. He's dead.
Yeah.
Explosions were great. And we're back on the ship, and we're wrapping up.
Yeah. Which it's they could have made this. I feel like the scene is too long, anyways. But Joe, you're back on the ship, and Joe makes a thank you fruitcake for the team. It just says thank you on it. But he walks out with like the biggest lump of icing on his nose, and then he's like, "Whatever, cool, bye," and like tries to dismiss himself. And Ahim's like, "Wait." And then like takes her finger and takes the whipped cream off his nose, and then he's just like, huh? And that's the freeze frame at the end. It's such a tonal shift from.
It's a Scooby-Doo moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, oops, aren't you cute? She licks the cream.
It's weird, and also
and gives him this smile, and he smirks, and it's like, what just happened?
I don't know.
Are those two? I mean,
I hope not. I don't.
But that's the end of the episode. That's the wrap up.
Yep, freeze frame.
Yay, raw. You kind of figure freeze frame and laugh track. I mean, I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I don't know. This was a fun episode. I think I'm more interested in the dynamic that it showed us between the Rangers than it did for really fleshing out Joe. I feel like it didn't really, other than I'm like, oh, he learned how to use 2 swords. That explains why he sometimes has 2 swords. Cool.
Will it come back, though? Because it seems like they set him up as a swords master.
Totally. But, I don't know. Like, he's already, like, a cool ranger, but I'm, like, now more invested in the Rangers, I think, as a whole. With like the compassion that they showed each other.
Yeah, the dynamic was really cool. Mm-hmm. That'll take us into the next episode.
Judgment Pirates.
That does sound a bit like an old like Fox Kids show.
Thank you.
Doesn't it?
I was thinking of like G.I. Joe. That was like my inspiration.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. I would like to start this episode because it starts with Luca, I believe, reading the paper, the space paper, because you can see that there's the space sports column, which is, I love that they didn't even try to make it up. I love it so much. They're just like, this is space newspaper. Obviously, look at it.
Right.
But it's space newspaper that has like the writing of like pirates. It's so funny to me. But there, she was like, "Oh, look, our bounty has gone up. Like they must really want to get rid of us." And then they talk to Navi to have like the latest fortune to be told. Like they're like, give us something. And then this is me falling apart. I just was still stuck on space sports. I forget what Navi says that ends up directing them to go to the police station.
Yeah, it was basically something like Navi bangs her head or his head, its head, and says, "Well, if you're looking for something, maybe you should consult the police."
Which,
okay,
some people call St. Anthony or something, but yeah, go talk to the police.
Don't Google it because that doesn't exist yet, really.
Yeah.
No, go to the police if you're looking for something. Okay. I guess they're just like, all right, it worked out last time, so they go to the nearest police office.
Yeah.
There's a little plushie on the counter. It's very cute, very welcoming.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, so, and then the cop at the counter it just holds up a paper. He's like, you're wanted.
Yeah. And there just happens to be like an SPD officer there to like hear all of this.
Yes. Just happens to be by the front counter is Deca Yellow making her little cameo.
Yeah.
Jasmine is great. She's in her full old police uniform. She's got her gloves. Looks great. And she goes over very calmly, very slick, I have to admit. Smiles at Marvelous and just goes, on Earth, there's this custom where when you're meeting someone new, you put your hands out like this. And she puts her hands out with the wrists touching each other.
So she could cuff him. And he was just like, oh, okay. But he had no idea. He's like, oh, okay. Cool. Like,
yeah, he's like, sure, I have no reason to question this. Like this? And she's like, yes, exactly like that. And she takes out her cuffs and cuffs him.
And like you as the viewer, you're like, no, idiot, no.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen here. It's not going to go well for you.
Especially when you just talked to an officer who was just like, this is your bounty, this is you. Like, there was no like alarm raised for Marvelous. He was just like, whatever.
Right.
Like, this is me.
But he even makes a comment. He's like, well, I didn't figure the cops would be cooperating with Zongyak.
Yeah.
With the bad guys. And they're like, we're not cooperating. You're wanted for piracy.
Yeah.
Oh. And Marvelous gives this look over at Luca like, you know what to do. She cracks her knuckles. She's like, yep. It's time to run.
Yeah, and they book it so quickly out of there.
The four of them are gone.
Yeah.
Marv is still there cuffed, and he has to fight his way to freedom. Which I will give him that it's another one of those. I love these, whether it's Super Sentai, whether it's Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, whatever. The civilian fights, the unmorphed fights.
Yeah. And it's a good fight scene, too. Like,
yeah, he's got his hands cuffed, so he can really only use his legs and body. And there is a good little fight there before he manages to run out. However, as he's running out, Jasmine's on her phone. And we cut to Marvelous thinking he got away.
In the train yard outside, of course.
Yes, because there would be.
Yes.
And there's Doggy Kruger.
My favorite Doggy Kruger.
The old Deca Master himself.
Yep.
And he's just like, hey, you didn't expect me, did you?
And to be honest, I didn't expect him either. Like, when we saw her, I was like, oh, okay, like, if we have the Yellow Ranger, we might get some other Rangers. And then immediately this happens, and I was like, okay. And, like, yeah. I was actually I wasn't bummed, but I was like, oh, it's probably going to be, like, a really quick scene with him, too. But no, we're in luck. He's a plot point.
This is handled so much better than Magic Red.
Yeah, this episode's cool.
And the wizard who lost his magic. I kind of expected, like you said, that Deca Yellow would be the one that would just kind of here and there pop in and out of the episode. But no, we actually have a really decent fight between Doggy and Marvelous.
Yep.
When Marvelous gets a great idea, because Doggy is known for using his sword. So he's using his sword in this battle. And Marvelous takes a knee, and puts his wrists out.
So his cuff or handcuffs could get cut. And he was like, no.
Yeah, Doggy is like, I know what you're trying to do there. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But as soon as he takes the changer away from Marvelous, Zanyak troops show up.
Yeah.
And they've got a new action commander, and he's got a brand new console, and they're doing something in this abandoned warehouse by the train yard.
Yes.
Turns out they've got a rack of subterranean missiles, and they're going to launch them in 45 minutes.
Which just sounds crappy. like that's really going to mess up your day.
Yeah. Yeah, because they do make a mention that they're going to send this throughout the world.
Yeah.
So it's not just Japan this time.
Yep, they're hitting, he's like, all the major cities, which I'm like, there's many major cities, and you have, 6 of these, but okay. Sure.
But fair.
Yeah. I see where you're going.
You gotta be stopped.
Yeah. I'm still not happy about it. Yeah.
And there's that moment where Doggy recognizes them, and it's like, this action commander is wanted. He's been judged and found guilty, and I need to take him out. And Marv is like, great. This is the distraction I needed. Let me go. You can get your guy. It's great. And Doggy's like, no, I'm not uncuffing you.
Yeah. He's like, you can sit here and wait, or you can run, but I will still get you, because you're cuffed.
Right. I will still find you. It's fine. I've got the nose for it. But as he's standing there trying to think of what to do next, his phone rings.
Yep.
And outs them to the action commander and Mooks. It was great. Just that little moment. He's like, of all the times for my phone to ring.
Yeah, it's so cheesy, but I actually really like this because it splits up Marvelous and Doggy, and there's this really great fight scene again with a sword and then a handcuffed dude and the Mooks being crazy.
Yes.
The action commander, Marvelous is kind of, I think, by some miscellaneous barrels and debris in this warehouse, and the action commander goes to shoot him, doesn't he?
Yes.
And
yeah, he goes to shoot Marvelous, but Doggy's in front of him.
Yep. He intervenes by hitting the bullets back. So we thought.
Yes.
Marvelous and Doggy, though, are able to escape, and it seems like they just go to the next warehouse around the warehouse for safety. And this warehouse is filled with 1930s cars, right? It's just
yeah, they were it's 20s or 30s. They looked like old British cars.
Yeah.
It was weird.
What you would have by the train tracks by the police station.
In Japan.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yes.
No questions here. They have a back and forth about just uncuff me, it's fine. I can help. And he's like, no, you can either just sit here. The cuffs aren't coming off. Just stop. And then as Doggy walks away to go deal with the action commander, Marvelous notices that there's blood dripping, and he's just like,
yes.
Oh God, Doggy got hit when he tried to save me. So Marvelous goes to save Doggy.
Now, at the same time, the team has noted that Marvelous didn't make it back to the ship. So they're looking for Marvelous, and they actually track him to the train yard, which is when they run into the Zanyak group looking for Marvelous and Doggy. So they transform and start to fight there. That's great.
Yeah, and they have that one line of I thought we were just dealing with the cops.
Right.
And you as the viewer, you're like,
what are you doing here? We weren't looking for you.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh geez, here we go. It's fun.
Yes, absolutely. So we cut back to Doggy. He's tracking down the guy with the console.
And he's not doing too hot.
No, he's definitely bleeding out. And actually, even though he's back in the old warehouse trying to get kind of a good position to take this guy down, he bleeds on the guy's head.
Like drips from like an above rafter or staircase.
And the guy's just like, yeah. I'm like, what the hell are we looking at here? But the guy spins around and just starts firing.
Yep.
And hits Doggy like 3 or 4 times. Doggy just falls off like a stairwell to the ground.
He falls far.
Yeah, he falls down like 2 flights. And the enemy's got him dead to rights. I mean, he's got a gun in Doggy's face. Mm-hmm. But here comes Marvelous. He basically swings in, kicks the guy, and then starts taking Doggy out of there as the guy's firing after them. But he hits parts of the warehouse, like ceiling, the roof, and everything, and it falls and blocks her path. So, cut back to the team. Gokai changed time because they don't have a lot of time. They got to find Marvelous. Mm-hmm. They transform into Go-Onger, and then they turn into Die Ranger, which is great to see. Because Luca uses the drunken fist style of the what is he, a Griffin Ranger?
Tenma, I believe, is yellow. I don't know what Tenma technically translates to.
And then Doc is the Green Ranger, and he starts using like an old broom. Mm-hmm. And I had to stop. I'm like, why is he using a broom? And then you were the one.
Yeah,
you're like, he had a broom form.
Yeah, I don't. I can't remember what green is off the top of my head, because it's all like Japanese, or it's all Chinese martial arts.
It's a lion.
Oh, the shishi. Yeah, like the temple guardian dogs. Shishis.
Yeah.
But like Shaolin Kung Fu, there are like broom routines, so that's in line. And the Blue Ranger does like Northern Long Fist, which is cool. So you like, I think it's really cool that they can like Henshin, and then they have the knowledge of these Rangers, because like they're fighting distinctly as the Die Rangers, which is super, super cool.
Yeah, it's not just a costume change with it.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that they did that with that, that they have their individual fighting styles. But they mix it up a little bit, because like Doc, yeah, he's got that broom form, but he's still Doc.
Yeah, he's still
so weird. He's like hopping around and being goofy.
Yep, and Ahim does like cool flips in general, and so she'll add that for added flair.
After they do this little fight scene for the audience, they cut back. They're hiding. Doggy and Marvelous are hiding, and they talk in this hallway. Basically, Doggy is like, why did you pull me away? And Marvelous is like, well, I realized that you jumped in front and took a bullet for me. Like, literally. Mm-hmm. So they talk a little bit. And he's just like, look, me and my team fight with a sense of honor. Other people have labeled us as pirates, but that doesn't mean that's what we are. So I tell you what, I'll go stop this guy. You stay here. You're bleeding. Mm-hmm. I'll take him out, and when I get back, you can take these cuffs off me. And as he goes to leave, Doggy stands up. He's like, wait. And he uncuffs Marvelous and hands him his changer.
Yeah, and he's like, you uncuff a pirate? Or what was it? He's like, do you uncuff a pirate? He's like, no, I did it for someone who fights with honor, or something. Like, it was like a really quirky exchange.
Yeah, basically just using his words back at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. It was just, no, I'm not counting on the pirate. I'm counting on the guy with honor.
Yeah.
So they cut to the villain who's ready to activate the missiles. Mm-hmm. There's a minute left on the timer, but there's Marvelous, and he transforms.
And he's like, I don't need the minute. it's like great.
The confidence, the balls on this guy. Yeah, he's just like, I don't need a minute. That's more than enough time. And he just starts taking on all of the foot soldiers all by himself, takes them all down, and then shoots up the missile console.
Yep. And I wish everything worked that way, because as soon as he does it, everything deactivates, and like you see all the light and power drain from this like lift that's dropping the missiles into the earth. So you're like, literally, you're like, well, that's taken care of. Great.
All right. Yeah, I didn't have to hit the stop button. I just shot it up. But it works.
Yep.
I mean, I'll give it to him. He didn't need the minute.
No.
But, thank goodness, the rest of the team finally find Marvelous. It's time for the roll call. It's the red flag. It's time for this villain to go down.
Totally.
They do their roll call, and they then do a Gokai change into Deca Ranger.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's, they hit the on-theme moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be the cops.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. One thing I will note about this fight is it's a nighttime fight.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare even in Super Sentai. I really love it when they do a fight at night, especially because, thinking about the stunt crew.
Totally.
They're wearing these masks with black visors on.
Right.
It's nighttime. It can't be easy to see, so I just give them all the respect in the world for the stunt crew who has to fight at nighttime.
100%.
But they do a great job as the Deca Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And again, really appreciate that you can tell who's who, but they are fighting as Deca Rangers.
Yeah.
But they take this guy out in no time.
Yeah. They didn't
he's
even
got no
need
one
the
to help
Henshin
him.
to really, they were all killing it to begin with.
Right.
Just for flair.
But the show acknowledges that, and it's time to make their monster grow.
Mm-hmm.
The villain, who is now huge, the action commander, grabs a couple of the missiles and starts to basically use it like daggers.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's very weird.
But the Rangers transform and pull out the Gokaiger, got the big Megazord battle, and it's kind of cool nighttime train set fight.
Yeah, this is cool because, like you said, visibility is low, so there's a lot more explosions and just
they
sparks
play with the light
flying.
a lot.
Yeah, sparks are flying. The buildings also, they're probably, I don't know. I feel like the buildings were more dynamic. A building gets cut in half and thrown. I forgot about that until just now. But
yes.
But we navigate really quickly between live action and 3D models because the Gokaiger can't do a barrel roll, but you see them doing the whole it's basically like a Matrix fight scene.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At night.
There's definitely that moment. They do that thing, and I've seen it a lot in Japanese media, where it's the two people running side by side facing each other.
Yeah, with guns out.
Yeah, with guns out, and they're shooting at each other constantly. And I don't know, he does that big Matrix. Mm-hmm. The Gokaiger does the Matrix jump, or the, what was that video game? Anyway.
I don't know.
He does the sideways jump. It kind of goes into slow-mo. And just blows the guy up. They grab the missile and they fling it into orbit before it's time to explode, and it takes out
into the
multiple
fleet.
ships.
Yeah.
in the enemy fleet, and then explodes.
Yeah, it's very good, and it immediately goes to the
good.
prince, and he's just so mad, and they're all it's just cool it, you need to keep it together, and he's just
it's fine,
no,
it's fine.
He's my toys, basically. So mad.
And Doggy stumbles out, and he's just I think you can do it now. You can use the Deca Ranger ultimate power.
It's so stupid. He stumbles out of the building and stands outside, so obviously Gokaiger can hear him.
Thank goodness they've got the satellites trained on him specifically, so they can hear him. But yes, the Deca Ranger keys are glowing now. They activate. It goes, let's go, and it turns into Deca Gokaiger. The chest opens up, the arms and legs open up, just like the dragon. But instead of a dragon, it's a cop car. They've got sirens going.
Annoying.
Almost immediately, the cop car, it's like a race car.
Yeah.
It pops out of the chest and starts driving after the guy.
And it's cool.
And then
because gravity doesn't mean anything.
Up a building.
Yeah.
And it hops off the side of a building and starts blasting the guy.
And then Gokaiger has two pistols that are huge, and then
yes.
And I did love also as the Deca Gokaiger, instead of having cannons, Gokaiger is filled with Gatling guns, which I thought was a weird switch for it being cops. But
yeah, they take him down instead of the starburst where it's all of the cannon fire. It's they call it full burst, and like you said, they're all Gatling guns and just mow the guy down, basically.
yeah.
But they pop back down. Everything's good. The guy is blown up. Everybody's happy, and the team is helping Doggy get back to, I guess, basically his people.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of cops there, and they all pull their weapons ready to fire on the pirates and Doggy.
Yeah.
When we get our third cameo of the episode, and Decker Red, or Bon Bon, comes out, and he's just like, I'm here to report, sir. We did some investigation, and the acts of piracy that these people were wanted for has been proven a hoax.
It's from the looming empire. So our villains are the ones that
reported them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
the
the bounty's not enough. We'll go ahead and turn them into the cops, too.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, it turns out that was a hoax. That was actually a setup. So you guys are free to go, and it's my turn. So he takes Doggy on his shoulder instead of Marv. And they just have this moment of Doggy, Kruger, and Bon kind of watching the team walk away.
Yeah. I feel like it was like a little bit of a cheesy ending, but I'm happy for it. Like, this cheesy ending felt not deserved, but it fit compared to cheesy ending from No Magic Man.
I agree. I was going to say the word earned.
Yeah, but I don't want to say the cheesy ending was earned, because that sounds mean, right? but like we had 3 cameos. Like, it moved really fast. We had cool fights. We had a very annoying police car. Like, I don't know.
But
it does stuff.
The main cameo being Doggy Kruger, he was featured throughout the thing.
Totally, and he's cool.
Like, once they featured him, he was there the whole time, and they didn't try to hide his identity.
No.
They didn't try to do something silly like skipping across rocks or something like they did with Magi Red.
Totally. He was just him in the flesh, in the fur.
And he yes. I will give you that.
Yeah.
He was just Doggy in the fur. He never transforms. I don't know. I like it.
I like this episode, too, on the heels of the last one as well, because the last one we got the kind of look at how the team kind of sympathizes and like looks out for each other, and then we had this one where it was Marvelous looking out for others. I mean, obviously he didn't want to be turned in or whatever, but like he's like, no, we fight for honor, like we fight like for good, basically, and this illustrated that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily for good.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not being malicious, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not the bad guys here, kind of a thing. But they do have kind of a code of honor because, like you said, tying back in the previous episode, when Joe took it personally that his swordmaster was insulted, he went and he trained.
Right.
He didn't try to come up with something devious and to take this, this guy down. He actually just trained harder.
Yeah.
Even risking his own life at that point.
Yeah. I would say, though, like, they're not pirates. Like, I think they take the high road. But, yeah, I think saying fight for good is, I don't know. Like, they could have easily left this planet, too. Even though they're looking for something here. Like, they could have dipped. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I don't know. It's almost tsundere.
Yeah.
I would say. With remember the last week when they had the kids who are like, thank you for fighting to protect us. Like, we didn't do that. Mm-hmm. They wrecked our lunch.
Yeah.
But I have to say, if we ignore the premiere, which was just action-packed, we did have some complaints about episodes 2 and 3 last week. And this week, I think almost every complaint we had was met.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I feel good about these.
We didn't have a needless cameo in the episode with Joe and the sword guy.
Yeah.
And when we did get cameos, we had 3, and one who was heavily featured throughout the episode.
Yeah. It felt good.
That's really cool.
Like, I didn't feel like they understayed or overstayed their welcome. Like, their presence was, like, understood, right? Like, the introduction, and the main
I think they did a better job of, like, integrating.
Yeah, totally. And I like that we got 3 of them, so that's cool, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was cool to see Bon again. Thought we would only get 1, and we get the little cameo from Deca Yellow, from Jasmine, and then the feature from Doggy Kruger. It's like, well, that's really cool, but that's not Red. Yeah,
Yellow's, I think, like, she's just the introduction, but I actually really like hers because she's kind of, like, I don't know, mischievous in a way. Like, oh, put your hands out. Yeah. Like, it's proper.
It still fits the character very well. It was written very well. I kind of wonder if this episode was written by someone who worked on Deca Ranger.
Oh, that could be.
Who kind of knew it better.
That one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy both of these episodes a lot. Mm-hmm. I guess to wrap up, next week we've got 2 more episodes. One called The Most Important Thing, and one called Nikki Nikki Kinpo Lesson.
Great.
And I can already tell from Nikki Nikki that's going to be a Geki Ranger episode. So
cool.
Expect to see some jungle cats.
Great. Well, cool. I don't know anything about what's going forward, so I'm excited, and I think I don't want to say I was like at a low point last week. Like, we were just getting started, but like, we are in an upward trajectory, and I'm like strapped in for the ride,
Yeah. Definitely. There's kind of like another wind behind us at this point. Not really a second wind, because like you said, we're just starting out, but
totally.
After the highs of the premiere and a little bit of a lull with 2 and 3 and how they handled their first cameo, this was great. Mm-hmm. This was a complete turnaround and really gets me excited for next week.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
That's it from us this week. Thanks for joining us. And as usual, if you have any questions or comments that you want to give us, you can always find us on social media at Toku Takeout on Twitter. You can also find us on tokutakeout.com, where we have a contact form to contact us by email. We actually have voicemail. So if you want to leave us a message, you might have your message read on a future episode. This week's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I can't wait for next week. I hope you guys join us. I'm Tam, and you can find me on Twitter at TamazonX.
And I'm Cole, and you can follow me at OKRetroZone.
Thanks, and
see you next week.